I was pouring tea for myself when my son Daniel walked into my living room with a stiffness that didn't belong to him. His face pale, eyes avoiding mine, voice strangely rehearsed. "Mom, we need to talk." My hand froze above the cup. I had raised that boy alone. I knew every version of his voice, happy, scared, guilty, lying. And today, he was lying. He cleared his throat. "I've made arrangements. You're moving into a nursing home tomorrow morning. It's already done." Done. Just like that. My future, my home, my dignity, decided in one sentence. Before I could even process it, he continued. "I also sold the cabin house and the farmland. You can't take care of those anymore." He said it lightly, almost casually, as if he were telling me dinner would be late. My heart clenched. Those weren't just properties. They were my life, with my late husband Samuel, the land he had worked with his hands, the cabin he built for our anniversaries, the apple trees we planted together. "You sold them?" My voice trembled. "It's better this way, Mom." His eyes finally met mine, but there was no love there, only calculation. Daniel kissed my forehead mechanically, picked up his car keys, and walked away like a stranger. I didn't chase him. I didn't cry. Instead, I smiled, because Daniel didn't know the truth. My name is Evelyn Carter, 69 years old, and unlike what my son believed, I was not the fragile, clueless, helpless old mother he thought he could betray. For months, I'd watched Daniel change. He stopped visiting unless he needed money. He started bringing his wife, Melissa, a woman who pretended to be sweet but always looked at my house as if calculating its price. They insisted I rest more. They took over my mail. They talked in whispers about my memory issues. They treated me like I was fading. But I wasn't fading. I was watching, and I saw the greed growing behind their concerned faces. 3 weeks ago, I visited my husband's old friend, attorney Mr. Wallace, a man who had known Samuel since childhood, a man I trusted more than anyone. That day, I rewrote everything, my will, the property documents, the ownership papers. Daniel thought he had sold my land. Daniel thought he had ownership. Daniel thought he could throw me away like an old rug. But what he didn't know was, I no longer owned any of the properties he thought he sold, and neither did he. Because I had legally transferred everything, the farmland, the cabin, the savings accounts, even this house, to someone he'd never suspect. My granddaughter, Lily, Daniel's own daughter, the only soul in this world who still loved me without agenda. And the best part? The buyer Daniel had sold the property to? The papers he had forged? They were fake buyers, fake signatures, fake deals. I knew, I saw, I waited. Because sometimes letting people dig their own graves is far more powerful than stopping them. Tomorrow morning, he thought he would take me to a nursing home. Tomorrow morning, he thought I would walk out of this house for the last time. Oh, sweet boy, tomorrow morning would be the day his entire world collapses, without me lifting a finger. The night before Daniel planned to take me away, my house felt unusually silent. Not the peaceful kind. The dangerous kind. The kind that comes right before a storm destroys everything in its path. I made myself a cup of chamomile tea, Samuel's favorite, and sat near the fireplace. The flames flickered just like the memories of the life I had built inside these walls. And tomorrow, my own son wanted to exile me from it. But I didn't feel fear, not even sadness, only clarity. As I sat there, I heard the front door open without knocking. Daniel walked in with Melissa behind him, both of them fully dressed, acting like saviors coming to rescue a burden. "Mom," Melissa said with a practiced soft smile, "we just came to check if you've packed your things." "Pack? For what?" I asked calmly. Daniel frowned. "For the nursing home. Don't make this harder." I nodded slowly. Inside, I was measuring every word they spoke, storing them, engraving them. "Which things should I take?" I asked. Melissa stepped forward instantly. "Oh, you don't need much, just your clothes. The furniture, the jewelry, the silver. Daniel and I will handle it. It's too much stress for you." My jewelry, my furniture, my silver, everything I had saved from my grandmother, from Samuel, from the life I had lived with pride. They weren't here for my well-being, they were here for my belongings. I sipped my tea, pretending to be the naive old woman they wanted me to be. "Oh," I said gently, "and what about the land money, the cabin money? Will I get something?" Daniel exchanged a quick glance with Melissa, the kind people share when they are about to lie. "Mom," he said, lowering his voice, "the money is already used. We invested it." "Invested?" I whispered. "Yes," Melissa jumped in, "for our restaurant. It's an opportunity we couldn't miss." A restaurant. They could barely cook instant noodles, but I didn't expose them, not yet. Instead, I lowered my eyes and said quietly, "I trust you both." And just like that, their faces brightened. Because selfish people hear only what comforts them, never what warns them. They had no idea those properties were no longer mine to sell since 3 weeks ago. No idea their forged sale agreements meant nothing. No idea Lily, their daughter, owned everything now. And they had no idea that Mr. Wallace had already filed a confidential notice with the court that morning. Any attempt to sell, rent, transfer, or manipulate my assets would be legally flagged and blocked. Daniel walked toward my bookshelf, trailing his fingers along the photo frames. He stopped at one, a picture of Samuel holding newborn Lily in his arms. His jaw tightened. He didn't like that photo. Too much love in it. And people like Daniel despised anything they couldn't control. "You know, Mom," he said slowly, "we're doing this for your own good. You're forgetful lately, confused. You can't live alone." Ah, there it was, the script, the same one Melissa had probably rehearsed for him. Paint me incompetent, helpless, weak, so that everything they did would seem justified. I stared right into his eyes, letting my voice tremble just enough to keep up the performance. "Maybe you're right, Daniel. Maybe I do forget things." Relief washed over his face. "Good. Let him get comfortable. Let him think I am exactly what he needs me to be. After all, comfort makes people sloppy. Sloppiness reveals truths, and tomorrow they would both crumble under their own deception." Before leaving, Melissa looked around one last time, her eyes sharp, greedy, tasting the house like a meal she'd already claimed. "We'll pick you at 8. Be ready." And they left. The door clicked, and instantly my posture straightened. No trembling hands, no confusion, no weakness. I stood up, went to my safe drawer, and pulled out a thick folder. Inside it, Lily's legal ownership documents, the court notice blocking any sales, evidence of Daniel's forged signatures, pictures from the day he took my keys, phone recordings of his threats. Everything Samuel had taught me one lesson well: never confront betrayal empty-handed. I smiled, closed the folder gently, and whispered into the quiet room. "Tomorrow will not be my downfall, my darling Daniel. It will be yours."
I woke up before sunrise, not because I was nervous, but because I wanted to watch the morning my life, and Daniel's, would change forever. The house was quiet, wrapped in a blue dawn light. I brewed a pot of coffee the way Samuel used to like. Strong, earthy, comforting. I slowly arranged the documents on the kitchen table. Lily's ownership papers, evidence of Daniel's forged signatures, the court notice, a printed copy of the will, the transfer deeds, a sealed envelope for Daniel and Melissa. Everything was in order. By the time the clock struck 7:30, I had already dressed neatly in a lavender sweater and a gray skirt, the same outfit Samuel loved. I wasn't going to the nursing home looking weak. I was going to let them believe I was ready to go. It was 7:55 when their car pulled into the driveway, a brand new SUV, so that's where part of my land money went. Melissa stepped out first, wearing oversized sunglasses like she was a celebrity. Daniel followed, checking his watch impatiently. I could see it already, the irritation, the entitlement. Not a single hint of guilt. Daniel rang the bell twice, forcefully. I opened the door with a soft smile. Good morning, my dear. He blinked, surprised by my calmness. Mom, are you ready? We're on a tight schedule. I am, I said, patting his arm. But come inside first. I made coffee. Let's sit for a moment. Melissa's lips tightened. She hated delays. She hated anything that wasn't about her plan. But Daniel, wanting to play the caring son, nodded. Yes, okay, but make it quick. They entered the house like people entering a property they already owned. Melissa walked around slowly, touching the furniture, evaluating, measuring. I watched her silently. Then we all sat at the table. The documents were covered with a decorative cloth, hidden but close. I poured the coffee. My hand didn't shake even a little. So, Daniel said, after we drop you at the home, Melissa and I will handle packing the rest of your things. Oh, I said sweetly. All of them? Yes, Mom. You don't need to worry about anything anymore. Melissa leaned forward. You'll be very comfortable there. And later, when your condition gets worse, you won't be alone. You'll be safe. Worse? That word slid from her tongue like poison. I lifted my cup, took a slow sip, and asked quietly, Tell me something, Daniel. What condition do you think I have? He blinked again, his mind scrambling. Well, you're forgetful. You get confused? Really? I kept my tone curious. Can you give me one example? Silence. Melissa jumped in. You forgot your doctor's appointment last week. I raised an eyebrow. No, dear. I remember perfectly. I canceled it. The doctor called me to reschedule. Melissa's face flushed red. Daniel tried again. Mom, you forget things. Like where you keep important documents. Oh, I smiled. Those documents are right here. Both of them froze. I slid the cloth off the table slowly, revealing the thick folder. Daniel's face drained of color. Melissa's fingers tightened around her mug. What? What is this? Daniel whispered. I didn't answer. I simply opened the folder. The first thing on top, the court notice, legally blocking any sale, transfer, or manipulation of my properties. I watched their eyes widen as they read. Melissa shook her head in denial. This can't be real. We already sold. You forged the sale agreement, I said calmly, and you tried to sell land that didn't belong to me anymore. Daniel stared at me, breathing fast. What do you mean? Didn't belong to you? I turned the next page. Property transfer documents. All assets legally transferred to Lily Carter, their own daughter. Melissa gasped as if someone had slapped her. Our daughter? She whispered. Yes, I said with a soft smile. Everything belongs to her now. The cabin, the farmland, the savings, this house. Daniel's hand shook. He stood up abruptly. You gave everything to Lily? Without telling us? I looked him dead in the eye. Just like you sold everything of mine. Without telling me. His mouth opened, then closed. No words forming. I leaned forward, voice steady. You tried to put me in a nursing home to control my property, but you forgot something important. I tapped the folder gently. I am not incompetent. I am not confused, and I am not alone. Daniel swallowed. Mom, you tricked us. No, I corrected. I protected myself from you. A tear slid down his cheek, but it wasn't regret. It was fear. The fear of losing the future he had already spent. The fear of consequences he didn't expect. The fear of the storm he didn't see coming. Melissa finally spoke, voice trembling. What? What are you going to do to us? I folded my hands. Nothing, I said softly. Yet. But the silence that followed made them both realize. Their lives were no longer in their control. The storm had only begun. Daniel stood there, chest rising and falling like someone drowning in air. Melissa gripped the edge of the table so tightly her knuckles turned white. The two of them, always so confident, so sure they were the smartest in the room, finally looked small. Very small. I pushed the folder toward them. "You should sit," I said calmly. They sat. Not because they wanted to, but because fear pressed them down like an invisible hand. I placed a second document in front of them, the one they didn't expect. A notarized record of every transaction, every forged paper, every signature they faked. Daniel's jaw dropped. Where did you get this?" "I didn't." A smile tugged at my lips. "Mr. Wallace did. Your father's old friend. You remember him, don't you?" Daniel's face twisted. "Wallace? He was Dad's lawyer. Why would he help you?" I tilted my head. "Because I asked, and because he believed your father would want me protected. He filed everything with the court the moment you started sniffing around my finances." Melissa whispered under her breath. "Court? What court?" I pulled out the next paper, a sealed envelope. "You've both been under legal observation for 2 weeks," I said. "Suspicion of elder financial manipulation. It's a criminal offense." Melissa's breath hitched. She looked around the room as if searching for cameras. Daniel slammed his hands on the table. "This is insane. We were trying to help you." I leaned back in my chair, calm as ocean water before a typhoon. "You tried to take my home. You sold land you didn't own. You pocketed the money. You forged signatures. You planned to put me away where I couldn't defend myself." My voice softened, but the softness had steel beneath it. "And you call that helping?" Melissa erupted. "You don't understand, Evelyn. The restaurant. We needed capital. Daniel lost his job. We were drowning." For the first time, she sounded human, not greedy, just desperate. "But desperation doesn't erase cruelty." "Then you should have asked," I replied, folding my hands. "I would have helped, gladly. But you chose betrayal over honesty." Daniel finally broke. His voice cracked. "Mom, I was scared. I felt like I was failing Melissa, failing Lily, failing you. And when Dad died," he stopped. The pain in his eyes was real. For a second, my heart softened, but only for a second. "Losing your father didn't give you permission to lose your morals, Daniel." He looked down. The clock ticked. The wind brushed against the windows. A long, heavy silence settled in the room. Then I placed one final paper on the table. A choice, a deal, an escape, if they were smart enough to take it. "This," I said, sliding the envelope forward, "is my proposal." Daniel and Melissa stared at it like it might explode. Daniel swallowed hard. What proposal?" "You two can avoid legal charges," I said simply, "but only under 3 conditions." Melissa leaned in slowly. I held up 3 fingers. 1, you will return every penny you took. I don't care how you get it. Borrow it, work for it, sell your SUV, but it must be returned. Daniel's throat tightened. "But it's a lot of money." I didn't blink. "And yet, you spent it like it was nothing." My second finger lifted. 2, you will sign a legal commitment. You're not allowed to touch any of Lily's future assets. Ever. Melissa stiffened. "You're freezing us out of our own daughter's inheritance," she whispered. "No," I replied. "You froze yourselves out the moment you betrayed me." My third finger went up. 3, you will apologize. Not perform, not manipulate. A real apology. Daniel's face flushed with humiliation. "You want us to beg?" "No," I said quietly. "I want you to understand." Melissa stared at the envelope, hands trembling. "And if we refuse?" That was the moment I stood, straight, tall, unshaken. Then, I said, I take this folder to court, and everything you've done becomes public record. Melissa gasped. Daniel's chair scraped loudly as he stood up, panic overtaking him. You wouldn't, he whispered. I met his eyes, the same eyes I'd looked into the day he was born, the same eyes Samuel had. Daniel, I said softly, I have done nothing to you, but you did everything to me. Silence, cold, heavy. Then Melissa broke down, sobbing into her palms. Daniel's breast became shallow, fast. Everything they had built on lies was about to collapse. And I felt nothing but peace, because sometimes justice isn't loud. It's quiet, precise, slow, like water dripping until it splits a stone. Mother didn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw her own children standing in that hospital hallway, planning her disappearance, treating her like a burden, like someone they could quietly erase. Morning arrived with a painful heaviness. As the sun lit the dining table, Sarah and Hamza sat eating breakfast, milk, eggs, toast, like nothing was wrong, like they weren't preparing to steal everything from the woman who raised them. But their mother walked in with a strange calm, a calm that made both of them pause. Mom, you okay? Hamza asked. I'm perfect, she replied, pouring tea. But I have a little favor to ask before we leave for the facility. She used their own word with a sharp, mocking tone. Sarah frowned. What favor? I want to visit some beach house once. One last time, she said softly. I raised you two there, taught you how to swim there. Your father's ashes were scattered there. Please, let me say goodbye. The siblings exchanged a quick glance. They didn't want her anywhere near that property, but refusing would make them look suspicious. Fine, Sarah said reluctantly. We'll go, but quick. Of course, their mother smiled. Very quick. The drive was silent. Waves crashed in the distance as they reached the old wooden house. The smell of salt, the whisper of wind, the faded blue paint, it all came rushing back to her. She stepped inside slowly, touching the walls like greeting an old friend. Okay, Mom, hurry up, Sarah said, annoyed. Their mother ignored her. Instead, she walked to the back room, the one her children had forgotten existed. She slid open the small cupboard in the corner, its lock rusty, its hinges stiff. Hamza frowned. Mom, what are you doing? She pulled out a dusty metal briefcase. What is that? Sarah asked sharply. Her mother smiled, a smile so cold it froze both of them. This is the part you two never knew. She opened the briefcase. Inside were documents, photos, and recorded conversations. Evidence gathered quietly over the past year. Evidence of what Hamza and Sarah had done with her bank accounts. Evidence of the sale of her property, illegal without her consent. Evidence of the psychological manipulation they had been using for months. The children's faces drained of color. Mom, what is this for? Hamza whispered. She closed the case with a loud click. For the police, she said, and for the court. Sarah stepped forward. Wait, Mom, we were just... She held up hand. Don't lie. I already knew what you were doing. Every transfer, every forged paper, every call. And you know what? I let you keep going. Why? Sarah asked, trembling. So you could show your true selves completely, she said. And now you've crossed the final line. The siblings stood frozen because they hadn't seen the second briefcase she had placed earlier in the car, the one filled with hidden cameras, secretly recording their entire conversation since the moment they arrived. Their confession, their fear, their acceptance, captured, saved, sent to cloud storage. The trap had snapped shut, and they didn't even know it yet. The silence inside the beach house became suffocating. Hamza's throat went dry. Mom, you're misunderstanding everything. But she only raised an eyebrow. Really? Because the camera in the dashboard recorded both of you saying I can't live alone, and that you've already sold this house without me knowing. Sarah's lips parted in shock. You recorded us? For months, she replied calmly. Her children looked around the room as if the walls themselves might be listening. They weren't wrong. The old house was filled with shadows and memories, but today it held proof. Sarah tried a softer tone. Mom, listen, we were only trying to get rid of me, she finished. To hide me somewhere so you could take whatever is left of your father's earnings? Hamza's voice cracked. No, that place is safe. That place, she interrupted sharply, is where people are dumped to be forgotten until they die. Her cold truth hit them like a slap. She walked past them, her steps steady. This house is still legally mine, she said, and I have no intention of letting thieves, my own children, take it. Mom, don't do this, Sarah pleaded. We're family. Her mother turned slowly. That word lost its meaning when you two decided I was a burden. Hamza stepped forward aggressively. If you show those recordings, before he could finish, he froze because he finally noticed something blinking near the door. A small red light, a wireless security camera, streaming live. His mother followed his gaze and smiled. Oh, that? It's connected directly to my lawyer. He's watching right now. Sarah gasped. You brought a lawyer into this? You forced me to, she said. You think you're the only ones who know how to plan? Her children stared at her, at the woman they thought was weak, confused, easy to manipulate. But she wasn't any of those things. She was a mother who had been underestimated, and she was done playing victim. She closed the briefcase. Now, she said, I'll ask you politely to leave my house. Mom, out. Her voice carried a strength they had never heard before. Sarah's eyes welled up with a mix of anger and humiliation. Hamza clenched his fist but didn't dare take another step. The tide had turned, and they knew it. They walked out slowly, defeated, shocked, unable to process how the woman they tried to break had just destroyed their plan in minutes. When they reached the car, Sarah looked back at the house, trembling. What do we do now? Hamza stared at the waves hitting the shore. There's nothing we can do, he whispered. She's already won. But they didn't know. Their mother wasn't finished yet. Not even close. Their mother stood at the window watching her children walk toward the car, stunned, shaken, exposed. For the first time in months, she felt something she thought she had lost. Control, strength, clarity. But this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. She walked back to the living room, picked up her phone, and tapped a number she had memorized long ago. Yes, she said calmly. You can come inside now. The front door opened, and a tall, well-dressed man stepped in, the same man neither Sarah nor Hamza had noticed earlier when he quietly parked down the road. Everything went as expected? He asked. She nodded. I got exactly what we needed. He smiled. Good. I'll finalize the petition today. She took a deep breath. Make sure everything is airtight. I don't want them anywhere near my affairs again. Don't worry, he replied. By tonight, both of them will be legally barred from accessing your accounts, property, and medical decisions. She closed her eyes for a moment, relief washing over her. Her children thought they were hunting her. But she had been watching, preparing, and protecting herself long before they even realized. Outside in the car, Sarah was crying. "This can't be happening, Hamza. We're going to lose everything." Hamza slammed the steering wheel. "You should have stopped talking. Why did you confirm we sold the house?" "I panicked. You were the one who told her we couldn't leave the facility without signing." "Shut up, Sarah." They didn't know a small microphone under the steering column was recording every word. The lawyer had placed it there earlier. Their mother had planned this down to the last detail. Her children weren't just losing money. They were digging their own graves. Back inside the house, the lawyer placed all recordings into a folder. "You were right," he said softly. "They were preparing to declare you incompetent." She smiled sadly. "Yes, just like their father's family tried with him, remember?" He nodded. "I remember. It seems betrayal runs deep." "Not in me," she whispered, "and it won't continue after me." She walked to the porch, watching the ocean waves roll in. For years, she'd held on to the belief that her children would love her the way she loved them. But love without respect meant nothing. Love without loyalty was poison, and she refused to drink it anymore. As the lawyer prepared to leave, he turned to her. "You know, you could press charges." She stared at the horizon, calm, steady, unbroken. "I won't," she said. "Prison won't teach them anything." He waited. "Then what do you want?" She exhaled deeply. "I want them to feel what they made me feel," she said. "Powerless, lost, alone." He nodded slowly, understanding. She looked back at the house that held decades of memories. Let them lose what they were trying to steal. "And what about the house?" he asked. A small, unexpected smile touched her lips. "Oh, the house?" she said softly. "I sold it yesterday." The lawyer blinked. "Already?" "Yes, but not to them." She paused. "I sold it to someone who actually cares." Before he could ask who, a car pulled up quietly outside. The person who stepped out made everything clear. And this was the part Sarah and Hamza never saw coming. A silver car stopped at the edge of the beach. Its door opened slowly. Hamza and Sarah, still sitting in their own car, frowned as they watched the figure step out. A young woman, maybe in her late 20s, calm, confident, and familiar. Hamza narrowed his eyes. "Who the hell is that?" Sarah wiped her tears. I think I know her. Isn't that—" They both froze, because walking toward their mother, smiling warmly, was the one person they had ignored their entire lives. Aliyah, their father's niece, their cousin, the girl their mother supported after her parents died, the girl they always dismissed as unimportant, the girl who grew up quietly, watching everything, and the girl their mother trusted more than her own children. Inside the house, their mother opened the door for Aliyah as if welcoming her own daughter. "You made it," she said softly. Aliyah hugged her tightly. "I came as soon as you called." They walked in together, arms linked. The lawyer turned toward them. "So she's the one who—" "Yes," their mother said. "I sold the beach house to her. Not for money, not for profit, but so the house would stay in the family. Only the part of the family that still remembered what loyalty meant." Outside, Hamza's jaw dropped. "What? She sold it to Aliyah?" Sarah grabbed her head. "This can't be real. She barely has a job." Hamza stared at the house, thinking fast. "She must have sold it cheap. We can still fix this. Come on." They rushed out of the car and stormed toward the house. But when they pushed the door open, Aliyah stepped between them and their mother. "Stop," she said firmly. Hamza scoffed. "Move aside. This is family business. Aaliyah smiled coldly. Exactly, and that's why I'm here. The lawyer stepped forward. Actually, he said, holding a file, this is now my client's property, and both of you are trespassing. Sarah's mouth fell open. Mom, you can't do this to us. Her mother looked at her children, slowly, painfully, and finally spoke. I didn't do this to you, she said. You did this to yourselves. Hamza stepped back, his voice shaking with rage. You're choosing her over your own children? His mother's eyes glistened, not from guilt, but from a lifetime of hurt. I'm choosing the person who didn't try to lock me away, she said. I'm choosing the person who didn't steal from me. I'm choosing the person who actually treats me like I matter. Aaliyah's eyes softened. Hamza and Sarah had no words left. Nothing to defend themselves with. Nothing to bargain with. Nothing to twist. Their mother had ended the game completely. Just then, the lawyer handed Sarah an envelope. What is this? She asked angrily. Your eviction notice, he replied calmly. You both have until tonight to leave your mother's main house as well. It is legally hers, and now fully protected from misuse. Hamza's face turned white. They had lost everything, not because their mother was cruel, but because she finally chose to save herself. As the children walked back to their car in shock, Aaliyah closed the door gently behind them. Inside, their mother's legs finally buckled, and she sat down, tired but free. Aaliyah held her hand. Are you okay? Yes, she whispered. For the first time in years. I am. Outside, Sarah sobbed uncontrollably. Hamza stared at the ocean, hollow and defeated. Their plan to destroy their mother ended with them destroying only themselves. That night, as the tide rose and the sky turned gold, their mother sat on the balcony of the beach house, now Aaliyah's house, and whispered, Sometimes you have to lose children to save yourself. The waves carried her words away, and for the first time, she felt at peace.